The story begins during the dark days of World War II. Saito, a Japanese businessman, has been branded a traitor. He is being transported back to Japan with other prisoners, not toward freedom, but toward slavery. He is kept in solitary confinement, isolated from the rest. Soon, guards drag him before the ship's commander. Hatred burns in the commander's eyes as he coldly says, "Death is an easy punishment for traitors. I will never choose an easy path for you." At that moment, another prisoner is brought in, Bronson, a British captive whose heart is filled with pure hatred for the Japanese. A cruel smile appears on the commander's face. He orders that from now on, these two men will spend every remaining breath of their lives together. Heavy chains are locked around their legs. Bronson screams in rage, begging to be killed rather than chained to a Japanese man, but his voice is swallowed by the empty walls. Suddenly, the ship is rocked by violent explosions. The enemy has attacked. Chaos erupts everywhere. Prisoners revolt, bullets rain down, screams echo, and smoke turns the ship into a battlefield. Amid the confusion, Saito and Bronson manage to free themselves and fight alongside the others. Then disaster strikes. A submarine fires a missile directly at the ship. A massive explosion shakes everything. Only a few officers and the two chained prisoners remain alive. The commanding officer draws his gun, his eyes saying clearly, "No one will survive." At that exact moment, Bronson grabs Saito and jumps into the sea just as the ship explodes into a fireball. After hours of battling the waves, a half-dead Bronson drags Saito onto a deserted island. Exhausted, Bronson collapses. When Saito wakes up the next day, he wonders whether this is a nightmare or the beginning of a far worse reality. His blood freezes when he looks at his legs. The chain is still there. This is not a dream. Nearby, a soldier's corpse has washed ashore. Trembling, Saito takes the gun from the body. A terrifying thought crosses his mind. If I kill Bronson now, I could be free. He raises the gun, but Bronson suddenly awakens and attacks him. A brutal fight breaks out between sand and waves. Then, from the depths of the sea, a horrifying scream echoes. Blood from Saito's wounded leg drips into the water. The surface begins to ripple. Something is coming. A monstrous creature bursts out of the sea and drags Bronson away with terrifying speed. Saito panics and lifts the gun. For a moment, he aims at Bronson. Freedom is just one shot away, but his finger trembles. He pulls the trigger at the creature instead. The bullet hits. The monster disappears into the water with a scream of pain. Bronson lies injured on the shore, bleeding. Saito stares at him, haunted by a single question: did I save him or doom myself? They soon realize that their hatred for each other is nothing compared to the horror lurking on this island. Forced by fate, they make a fragile pact to survive together. As they move deeper into the island, they discover terrifying strange footprints, mutilated bodies, and proof that the creature is intelligent, strategic, and far more dangerous than any animal, separated, hunted, injured, and surrounded by death. Both men come to the same realization: this island is not just cursed. It is home to something that hunts not like a beast, but like a thinking predator, and the real nightmare has only just begun. He handed his weapon to Bronson and whispered, "Hide." Saito remained standing where he was. Near the camp, food was boiling. Suddenly, a soldier caught the smell and came to investigate. He assumed someone was sleeping inside. As soon as he stepped forward, Saito appeared in front of him and said calmly, "Don't shoot." Bronson, standing at a distance, watched everything in shock. The soldiers had no idea that Saito had already been declared a traitor. Of this, they began to trust him. But Bronson had no idea that the real danger was lurking right behind him. Sitting in the camp, Saito quietly asked his former comrades if anyone else had survived. The man replied that only they were alive because they were wearing life jackets. Everyone else had drowned. At that very moment, Bronson suddenly realized that the same sea creature was right behind him. His heart felt like it would burst out of his chest. Fear overwhelmed him so completely that he couldn't think anymore, and he finally closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he was stunned. The terrifying creature was gone. Meanwhile, the Japanese soldiers were interrogating Saito. In a suspicious tone, they asked, "Are you sure no one else is here?" Saito replied calmly that he was. Alone, but their sharp eyes had already noticed faint signs of Bronson's presence nearby. Suddenly, One soldier drew his sword and said, "Before the ship sank." There was a rumor that a traitor and an enemy were chained together. They pulled the cloth away from Saito's leg, and when they saw the chain marks, they immediately understood that the man standing before them was that very traitor. Another soldier angrily demanded, "Where is the fugitive?" Saito lied and said that he was dead, pointing toward a grave where Bronson's friend had been buried. One soldier roared, "You're not just a traitor, you're a liar too." He threatened that if Saito didn't tell the truth, he would slit his throat. Right there, at that exact moment, the island trembled. A terrifying roar echoed through the entire jungle. Everyone froze in place. A nearby prisoner began shaking uncontrollably, fell to his knees and screamed, "This is not a human. God, protect us." His scream unsettled everyone. One soldier ordered the youngest recruit to go and find the source of the sound. The young soldier moved cautiously forward and eventually reached Bronson's hiding place. While hiding, Bronson accidentally stepped on a dry branch. It cracked loudly. The soldier turned alert and moved toward him, but suddenly heard a monstrous growl. Terrified, he ran in the opposite direction. While running, he reached the entrance of a cave and rushed inside, unaware that the creature was already lying in ambush among the rocks. Bronson tried to save his hidden friend, but it was too late. From the darkness of the cave, the creature sprang out like lightning and attacked the soldier. The young man swung his sword, but the next moment a horrifying sound echoed. The bones in his arms shattered. His agonizing scream rang across the island when another soldier outside heard it. His fear and rage exploded onto Saito. He lunged at him, about to kill him, when suddenly Bronson attacked and killed that soldier. But before Bronson could fire his gun, the creature emerged from the cave and ripped off the injured soldier's head, throwing it toward them. The blood-soaked head landed at their feet, and the creature let out a soul-shattering scream. Saito and Bronson were horrified. Without wasting a second, they ran and disappeared into the darkness. Behind them, the creature brutally finished off the wounded soldier. Another prisoner who tried to escape was also caught and killed in agony. Watching from a distance, Bronson and Saito realized that staying there meant certain death. They decided to flee, but the creature had already sensed them. Its deadly eyes locked onto them, and it charged after them like lightning. They ran toward the jungle to save their lives. Cutting through thick bushes with his machete, Saito pushed forward. Panicking, Bronson shouted that he had a plan and that they should stop and face the creature. But once again, the language barrier separated them. Saito didn't understand and kept running. The creature pounced on Bronson. In desperation, he aimed his gun and fired, but the bullet disappeared into the air. His last hope, his final bullet, was wasted. The creature grabbed his throat with its sharp claws and was about to kill him when Saito suddenly returned. With all his strength, he attacked the creature and freed Bronson from its grip. They tried to escape again, but fate wasn't on their side. While running, they slipped down a steep slope and fell, smashing into rocks. Were badly injured. The next morning, they woke up covered in blood and pain. A sharp fragment was lodged in Saito's chest. Gritting his teeth, he pulled it out. Nearby, Bronson lay on a rotten tree trunk, hanging dangerously over a waterfall. As soon as he moved, the log shifted, and he lost balance, crashing down onto a rock and falling into the water as he sank. His breath faded and memories of the first attack flashed before his eyes. Somehow summoning his last strength, he swam. Back to shore, they were separated now. Saito found a katana near a dead soldier's body. Bronson continued alone. Above the waterfall, the creature roared again, shaking the forest itself. Even nature seemed terrified of its fury. Later, Bronson discovered that the creature was intelligent, treating its own wounds. It wasn't a mindless beast. He had to warn Saito. But fate had more horrors planned. Inside the wreckage of a crashed airplane, both men unknowingly arrived at the same place. There, Bronson found a bomb jammed in the wing. A dangerous plan formed. Inside a cave, they discovered a massive female creature guarding her eggs, her red eyes glowing like burning coals. Saito warned him, "If we kill the female, the entire pack will hunt us." Bronson replied through clenched teeth, "Either they live, or we do." He showed Saito the bomb. As they tried to set it, Saito realized the trigger was damaged. It could explode at any moment. Before they could decide, a thunderous roar echoed. The female was returning. With no time left, they ran. A flare lit the cave red like blood. Saito stood guard as Bronson struggled to free an emergency hammer from the wreckage. Suddenly, a massive shadow appeared before Saito. Without hesitation, he drew his katana and charged. Steel clashed with claws, sparks flying. The creature was no mindless animal. Every move was calculated. Every strike was deadly. Bronson pulled with all his strength. Finally, with a loud metallic crack, the hammer came loose. At the same time, Saito screamed and